squad, I'm gonna get mine. Go do the grind, if you can't do the job, don't tell me how you're off and down. When you're smiling in my face, but you play me like a clown, it's your fool, bitch. So just step back, or I'm mad dad when I come down straight. I thought you were my piece, but you played me out. Now I'm mad as hell, and I'm full of doubt. Who you wanna roll with? Who you wanna roll with? Lefty, let's roll. Who you wanna roll with? Who you wanna roll with? Lefty, let's roll. I'm back on the scene, it's time to get mean. I'm a lean, revolution machine. For what people stay, they sway. For today is good as any day. Y'all feel slightly this, let's resist. Raise your fist and pump like this. Promises all the time. Don't cross the line, but you know it's right. Who you wanna roll with? Who you wanna roll with? Lefty, let's roll. Who you wanna roll with? Who you wanna roll with? Lefty, let's roll. Who you wanna roll with? Who you wanna roll with? Lefty, let's roll. Who you wanna roll with? Who you wanna roll with? Lefty, let's roll.
Double time, get something in your rhythm. 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 Double time, get something in your rhythm.
Brooklyn, who you wanna roll with? Who you wanna roll with? Let's see. Let's roll. Who you wanna roll with? Who you wanna roll with? Let's see. Let's roll. Who you wanna roll with? 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 Who you wanna roll with?
And not only that, but it's like keeps making it about things that it isn't about. But she's telling me, but I don't know. He's trying to gaslighting it. Yeah. It's just so mental. It's the same mental gymnastics. Same mental gymnastics.
Holy crap, that whole time I was muted.
Okay, there it was.
I wish I had
I was
somebody
like,
tell me
trying
that.
to figure out the sound on my computer.
Usually
Like,
people yelling at me, Lefty, you're muted. I just read a whole news story with no sound. That's really great. I'm gonna just smoke another one now.
Let's hear
I'm gonna smoke another one. Thanks, Clean Sanchez Media. Thanks. Yeah, 6 minutes too late, bro. This is why I love live podcasting, because this is why I love it.
The first
This
5
is-
minutes.
This is great. I love it because I could just edit this and have a perfect show, but no, this is more fun. This is more fun. Hey, what's going on? How are you? Hi. Hey, what's going on? Hey. Yeah, go ahead. We're doing a podcast, and you guys are doing a puff and pain, apparently. Wow, nice. I'm excited to see that. Yeah, so there's going to be puff and pain here, but it's private. It's private. We can't tell you about it. But we're doing all kinds of stuff this month.
Secretly.
Yeah, this is going to be great. It's a secret. It's a secret one. Secret sesh.
Oh, those are the best sessions.
I know.
So exclusive.
So yeah, Joel, what's going on, man? What's going on over there by you? I know you support Homegrow. I've seen you at Homegrow meetings, but what are we doing? What are we doing here in New Jersey, man? What's going on?
Oh yeah, we're all about the Homegrow. Well, I mean, I'm not actually in New Jersey myself. I'm here in Richmond, Virginia. But I mean, we're a grow supply distributor, Valley of Fire, and we're really, really pro home growing, not just cannabis, but we really want to see people get more into growing a lot more of their own food, their own cannabis. I really feel like that's the only way in the future to really know the quality of what you're putting into your body, what's going into those products. There's a lot of problems out there in agriculture, and there's a lot of issues in a large multi-state operator, commercial cannabis operations. I don't think I really even need to get too far into at this point, but there's a place for all those things. Not everyone can do everything for themselves, but it'd be very good for helping turn the economy around and stuff like that as well. If people had more control over growing a lot more of their own food and stuff within their own communities. So it's just kind of a direction we really want to see things go. And you guys are a coalition that are fighting for that specifically. So we want to do everything we can to support that. I mean, obviously in New Jersey, but we would want to support that in every state that's fighting that fight.
Yeah, it's tough here in New Jersey. Well, you're in Virginia, so you can grow cannabis in Virginia. That's wonderful. I think can patients grow it, or anybody can grow it, or just?
So Virginia is kind of funny. It's the only state that kind of screwed up their laws so badly that they have recreational. You're allowed to have it. Anybody is allowed to grow up to 4 plants, and it's something like maybe like a $300 fine for up to 49 of them. Don't quote me on that. I'm not giving legal advice. But they have no commercial cultivations for recreational. They have no dispensaries for recreational. They get no tax money off of it other than sales tax for people buying grow supplies. So kind of funny. Kind of sucks for people that can't grow it, but at least they do have that option.
So how is the cannabis down there?
Well, I mean, it's wildly all over the place as any state where people are very into doing it themselves at home. You have a lot of very experienced people that have been doing it for years. And then you have a lot of newer people that got into it as it legalized or even years after it legalized. So, some of it's really, really good. And some of it, could use a little bit of work. But for the most part, it's people in different stages in their learning process. It's all over the board. I hear they do have medical cannabis and they have dispensaries for medical, and I've heard not the best things about it. Anywhere where you have a monopoly with something like 2 to 5 companies that have licenses, it doesn't drive that competitive spirit to produce quality. In my opinion.
I agree. Sorry to pop in like this. Hope you guys are doing well.
Hello, Bucket Man.
How we doing?
Thought I'd pop in. I'm on my way to AC to help Just the Woman Cannabis out at their event. I thought I'd pop on real quick to plug that and talk with you guys real quick. At the High Roller Lounge on Indiana Ave, 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. Champs is going to be doing an after party. There's a buy-in fee to get in. We're going to be having some fun there tonight, smoking, eating, having a good time, enjoying the weather. So what are you guys talking about?
Oh, we were just shooting, mostly talking about, home grow cannabis in Virginia versus New Jersey.
What's the situation over in Virginia?
Well, they allow recreational growing up to 4 plants for anybody. And I think it's something like a $300 fine for up to 49 of them.
Okay.
Which, some may choose to take that risk.
Yeah. A little ambitious.
Totally. But yeah, it's a big because they don't really have recreational dispensaries or a system for recreational cannabis out here yet. I find Virginia to be a lot more home grow oriented. It's got a really big home grow scene and community, and the stores out in Virginia, like hydroponic stores, are kind of like community hubs that have events, and it's kind of a cool scene.
I love that.
Pros and cons.
I've got to visit,
but it's different.
I got to visit. That sounds awesome. I never knew that really, and honestly, that's a model to learn after. I mean, like honestly, I think the most accessible ways I still stand by for a lot of places to get that in with cannabis is to recreationalize. But that being said, if you can make what you guys had happen in other states, like that's great. It's great I think it's honestly better to just do home grow rather than having corporations and industries fight with each other all the time. Because that's like I've always said that, I thought when people have always talked trash about cannabis and how it became legal and whatnot, and the industries and all that, I would said, yeah, but what was our alternative? That's what we have, and that's a complete I think there's a lot of merit to that system. What you guys have over there?
Yeah, and I'd love to talk about that too. Actually, I was one of many people that were around throughout the legalization processes in multiple states. So, from the point of, I managed a collective in California during the medical days before legalization there. And we had this beautiful, beautiful medical system back in the late 1990s to late 2010s in California, where, it was very easy to get a prescription. I'll just put it bluntly. Like you could basically go in and say, I have anxiety from not smoking cannabis. So it's like, if you can't come up with like the 30 to 50 bucks to like go get a prescription, like I don't really know what to tell you. And then once you have that, then like, yeah, somebody could take that document. They could come over to our collective. Right. And they would sign a document that would say that we were their caretaker representatives. If we, by proxy, were allowed to grow their, call it 18 plants for them. And some people were able to get a prescription for about 300 plants.
Right.
And so they would say, all right, you're allowed to grow these plants for us. And then we will, pay a fee for the cannabis, like essentially, which is to cover the operation of growing it and, distributing it. And then anything left over, of course, is able to be distributed amongst the other members, and then they're able to access other products, etc. And then we could take these documents and post them up, essentially, and we could create larger legal cultivations with specific plant counts based on how many plants we were allowed to grow as representative of these other patients of ours. Back then, they were all patients, and.
Right.
And somebody with a prescription could literally walk through the doors of our collective with some turkey bags of weed and be like, do you guys want to buy these turkey bags of weed? And if they were good, like we could just buy those turkey bags of weed from that dude. I mean,
that sounds like a report you hear on The Onion. Like guy just donates bags of weed and nothing else.
Yeah, I mean,
That's
certainly,
how awesome that sounds.
yeah, and then we would have like a compassionate care program where, like, if we were having people like run growth for us, we would also stipulate that they provide X amount of products like every single month for free for us to distribute to people who had like late stage terminal cancers that didn't have the money and stuff like that. Um, that needed help, like, you know, veterans and things like that. And yeah, man, it was such a beautiful system back then. And when they were, you know, when they legalized it in Colorado and they legalized it in Oregon first, like I wasn't there for those, but I was there in California during the run up of the legalization there, and the laws that they were going to pass there. I thought they were absolutely horrible. I was against them. I voted no. I adamantly told everybody to vote no on recreational. You know, and people were like, you know, it's baby steps. We got to go through whatever. And I'm like, yeah, I don't think this is the one, guys. You know, and
Yeah, I think we would have had medical if it wasn't for the recreational.
yeah, I literally left California when that passed. You know, I was like, the party is over, and I packed up and I left, pretty much. Yeah, and then I was a part of legalizing recreation in Nevada. After that, we did it 6 months before we had to in Nevada to beat California to it, so we could do 6 months of sales, siphoning off of them essentially. And you know, just I got to watch firsthand over there as you know, it turned into you know, this cannabis helped my mother with her cancer, to people coming in saying this dollar pre-roll didn't get us home. Yeah, and the culture just changed immediately from helping people to like shoe store mentality. Like, you know, like
I will say, and you'd probably have more insight on this than me, but I was pleasantly surprised with the lack of pushback once it was recreationalized in New Jersey. And what I mean by that was I was brazen with it. I immediately, when recreation started, I lit up like while I was walking. I was kept in mind, you know, Clean Air Act for everyone, but still, you know, I had this wonderful memory where I lit up in front of the at the airport before I flew to Florida to see my friend. And this guy comes up to me and works at the airport. He's like, I never thought of that. And I was like, what? And he was like, you're hitting a J outside here before I go in. And I was like, yeah, man, this isn't like the United Nations or holy ground. Like, it's illegal now. And it's, yes, everyone obviously, you know, wasn't immediately like, there were still many people who had that paranoia instilled in them from the police, which is natural, but they still felt more.
Sometimes, yeah.
It's crazy. I still have people who are like, look around, and I'm like, dude, you don't have to look around. You're fine. And you're like, yeah, but you know, still. And I'm like, no, still nothing. Still nothing.
Like, I've been looking over my shoulder for 30 years. Like, I can't just stop looking over my shoulder on day one sometimes. Yeah, I get it.
It was crazy how easily I was able to. How easily I was able to just say, you know what I'm doing is not wrong, and I have the law behind me now.
Yeah, I gotta say, I think I transitioned into that mentality very easily.
Yes, it was liberating.
Yeah, we were in Nevada and totally not legal, but we were doing like casino challenges, we called it, where my friends and I would like walk through casinos smoking blunts and passing it back and forth.
That blew my mind. That like when it became recreational, and the first time I went to the casino and they're like, yeah, no pot in here. I'm like, but you guys are cool with cigarettes. Okay, fine, whatever. Yeah, I'll go with the hypocrisy and deal with it as we ease into things.
Yeah, I mean, well, understandably, that has to do with federal oversight on the casinos, though. So,
well, yes, but that aside, it's just with the cigarettes, it's like a whole just mindfuck.
Yeah, because the cigarettes were federally legal.
Yeah, just the nature of what they are.
You know, the casinos would love to sell weed too. You know, they would love to. You know, it used to be. They used to always say, you know, that they wouldn't want people to be getting high in casinos because they wouldn't like stay up and gamble. But that is proven not to be true.
There was not. I will say there would be a handful of people who would definitely fall to some underhanded tactics by some blackjack dealers and things like that because they're a little bit too blitzed. But that being said, I could also see a grand amount of people who would smoke aiming to do well at the casino, i.e., they're aiming to focus. They got their mind articulate with their strains. So I could see it going either way, but
Yeah, I like the, I found, and it was a while back now, 15, 18 years ago, whatever, where then, it was illegal to be walking around smoking, but it was the challenge that we like, I mean, like at a cab line getting out of somewhere, if you go, can we smoke pot in here? No? Okay, next. Can we smoke pot in here? No, next, just goofing around. But I was amazed at how quickly and quietly bicycle police could just be right alongside you. Whoa, where'd you come from? Holy shit, man. I mean, at the same point, they're walking by another couple, and I was just pretending like I was on the phone and I had a joint that they couldn't see or whatever, and a woman with another guy walked right by us and goes, I smell some, it smells good, and I want some. And she didn't bother like seeing me. But it was just after that being as discreet as I was real happy because exactly what happened. I mean, it was like magic, like he transported there. But I also still appreciate that I don't have to look in my rear view mirror too much, and I don't have to worry, and I don't remind myself, but I don't take it for granted. I like remembering what it was like because, yeah, it was a lot of years. And now it's like I have the right to have up to 6 ounces on me. I have the right to give another adult an ounce. I have the right to drive with it on my dashboard if I felt like it. I mean, like right up there drying out in the sun.
Your car could reek of it.
Yeah, and being a registered patient, I have the right to pull over, have what I want to smoke, and then when I feel able to drive off, I'm allowed to, And it's that's really pleasurable to me, and to see that there isn't a lot of trying to find ways to bust people still. It's almost like there's been this for certain levels at law enforcement. It's like I think they've learned to enjoy that this is not the issue it was 5 years ago. I could be wrong about that.
Hey guys, listen, we have a guest here, Hugh, and Hugh has a couple of minutes with us. So, Joel, we're gonna come back to you, Joel.
Hello.
It's Hugh.
My phone is about to die. I just wanted to say before I go, Hugh, I've been watching what you've been doing on Instagram. Keep up the fight. You guys are doing an excellent job. You guys kick ass out there. Honestly, you guys kill it. Keep fighting, and I'm rooting for you guys. I'm gonna head out because my battery's gonna die. I will catch you guys later. All right.
Get you later, man.
What's up?
Hugh Giordano in the house from Washington.
Sir.
Did you?
Right.
Hope you slept a little bit since Washington. You were a busy man.
Yeah, no, it was busy. There was schedules and times you got to be in these buildings, and there's a lot of security down there now. So yeah, it was busy time, but I'm happy to be home. I like being in Jersey.
Yeah, what was the crux of what you were doing? I'm in the dark on that.
Sure. We were down there with the Last Prisoner Project and Students for Sensible Drug Policy.
The Last Prisoner Project, was that something? Did Steve D'Angelo have anything to do with that? Does that ring a bell?
I don't know. Steve,
I think that was something he started.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that I've seen him on the advertisements. I'm not sure what his role is now with them.
Yeah.
But all good people. We're down there for a
Well, what a great call. The Last Prisoner Project, self-explanatory.
That's right.
Yeah.
And what we were doing was talking to elected officials in the Congress and the Senate. And we were talking about decriminalization, descheduling, and also, having some labor standards in the legalization bill as it pertains to workers' rights and how people are treated in the seed to sale model. So it was really good. I mean, I think we approached both Democrats and Republicans. It didn't matter. It was, the coalition that was down there all agreed on the same things. So it was an easy conversation. In our view, from the union side, when someone is arrested and put through the criminal justice system, a working person can't afford to hire the best attorneys. A working person can't afford to, make appeals if they lose. So to us, this was a working person's issue, working class issue. Didn't matter what party you are with, you're going to go to jail the same, right? You don't have the New York attorney. So it's talking about those things, making automatic expungement. We also talked about how it's important to decriminalize specifically because a lot of folks use this as medicine. I know that was a conversation, and that's what we, Sativa Cross and Coalition all stand for. So, we talked about medical a bit too as well. We wanted to make sure that that wasn't forgotten in the conversation. We talked about how people that are veterans, but also specifically people in the building trades or folks that work in manufacturing, housing. It hurts your body, and we've seen a lot of people have to go to the doctor and get opioids, and a decent person turns into somebody that's in Kensington, right? So, it was a good conversation. There were a lot of Congress folks and senators that came out at the press conference. This is a nationwide push. I look, under the new administration, I don't know where it's going to go. I mean, every day is a new day, so who knows? But it's good. I mean, it just shows that on the ground activism works. We were able to meet with Booker's office, with Andy Kim's office, and a few others. But it was a good conversation. I mean, people are definitely open to it, way more than it was over the years, as we all know. The end result was, that we made it an issue, right? And the coalition was pretty interesting too, because you have people that are far left, you have people that are far right, and then you have people like kind of in the middle. So it's interesting to make those coalitions and have those conversations. It forces us as a cannabis community to have to listen to other people and understand why they want it done a certain way. But I think for the most part down there, everybody was on the same plate, as far as these are the top things we're going to talk about, and this is how we're going to do it. It wasn't all about just us. It was or another group. It was about doing it together. So it was good.
It's not as much of a heavy political issue as it used to be. And coincidentally, I guess at the same time, with the prospective new head of the DEA, I forget what her name is, but not confirmed yet, being asked pointedly about the rescheduling that just sort of disappeared, and had all the right answers, all the right things to say, which can be good or bad. Maybe she's ahead of the curve, but it was that you need the information first. So she wants to learn what has already transpired to find out where it's at, with promises of certainly, it's not to push it away. It's going to, she has to get up to speed. So it wasn't like the batting it away blatantly without any care at all. I mean, I'm not paraphrasing this well. And Hugh, I'm really freaking jaded about this shit, But the thing is that the door is just wide open for, okay, then how are you doing with this now? In other words, after what she said, and it's not confirmed yet, but it won't be like, well, we were talking about that before, nothing's changed. It shouldn't be that attitude, And, basically, maybe it's a simple matter of somebody saying, how am I going to defend saying this still needs to stay in Schedule 1, saying it has no known medical use, is unsafe for medical use, even under medical supervision. I mean, that puts her at a point of saying, okay, I've looked into it, as I said. I found it's, she can't say that. So, I guess it has to do with so many things I have no idea about, but it wasn't just what's happening, who do you ask, where is it now, so I think your visit is like really timely to DC. I don't know, because like maybe somebody actually thought this could be good, and it isn't quite that political issue in the context you're talking about. It's one of the few areas where Democrats and Republicans can work together, and I've been talking about it for other reasons. Same thing though, is I find where I overlap with somebody, and the rest is irrelevant. I mean, if I want to get something done and they can help, if I'm going to get in the way of it somehow by saying I'm not going to work with that person, or I'm a whore, I want something I'm
No, it's
glad somebody's smiling, because sometimes that's not the right way to phrase it, and I don't mean anything. I'm not a freaking misogynist. I'm a whore.
well, that's why, coalitions are hard to even create, because
Yep.
you have to get past the ego. You have to get past the bullshit. Look,
Well,
if there's five,
you got to be good at that, especially. I mean, I've seen you work. I've seen how you deal with things, and you have experience doing that. So I take what you have to say on that like very highly. You do, and it's like not easy. But am I wrong that when something works together, isn't it really sweet that you could do that? That you know.
yeah, it is. I mean, it's just sitting down, and it's kind of the mindset of, okay, if there's five things you want, five things the other groups want, but we can agree on three things.
Yeah.
Well, those are the three things that the coalition will go after. Those are the three things we'll push on, and the other two things that we all don't agree on, let the cards fall where they may. It's just that's the way politics is.
If some of the first things work out, some of the other things look more possible. Even let's revisit them or whatever.
Exactly.
But it's just that and I think it's impossible to do that at times at a national level right now. But that doesn't have to seep down and contaminate things like this. And I'm glad to see that it's not, because everybody, you got to get something done. You got to get it done. And yes, compromise is part of it. It's not a dirty word, Without compromise, it doesn't get done. What do you win? You got your balls intact, but nothing's getting done. I mean, that's a bad trade-off.
I would say so.
I'm so sorry about my balls metaphor. Just saying hello.
Well, and I think too that there was a lot of conversation about states' rights as well. Making sure that anything that the state has done to progress either licensing, progress equity, progress medical patients' rights, all those types of things. It's better that the state takes care of it, because in our case, Jersey will fight to protect at least the equity licensing, and that helps veterans. It helps folks that have been incarcerated, people of color from impact zones. So all those things, and I think that's important too, because we can't let the federal government take away the hard work that it still has to happen here in Jersey. By no means do I think we're perfect, but because the problem with the federal government now is they're pulling back on equity and saying it's illegal, and so that's why, at least if the states have the rights to at least run the program and license it how they feel is correct, then us as New Jerseyans will have right to fight for what we think is right in the cannabis bills, whether it's adult use or medical. I mean, even home grow, right? I don't think we want the federal government affecting home grow at all, because even the Democrats are quote unquote more conservative about that idea. So
they got nobody better than Scutari to screw things up. So maybe they're looking at that and going, we can't help him. He's already crushing people. He's not going to have a good year this year, though.
I just posted an article. It's It's about home grow in Jersey. It's on Facebook. It's on the account. Anyway, I really didn't read the whole thing, but it was just more about all the governor hopefuls are pushing for home grow.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
This is great.
Of course, we understand that this is a tactic that everybody uses.
But
maybe.
it goes along with something else this year. Is we have from now through the 4th of July holiday, and they've got the budget all straight now. They're up for re-election, so they're going to be doing really no work till after the election, with some little bits of work before it, and then they'll have hearings, committee hearings scheduled, and votes. But they won't actually be. In other words, they'll come in for a day here, and then 3 days later they might come back in the morning. But the thing is, that there's really traction for at least the home grow bill, which brings up huge interest in the adult and home grow bill combined. It's one has 3 co-sponsors, one has 9. So the one with 9 co-sponsors leads the one with 3, and they know good. We hope they do good, because then we're next in line. But Scutari can't keep his wide net cast over it all, including patients. And the reality is he just doesn't want to talk about the patient home grow bill, because it's the home grow bill, and then that's going to reinvigorate adults, rightfully so, and saying same thing stands true for us. Oh, same point for us. So a lot of that opens doors a lot for adults, just talking about patients. It's the natural course of events. And it's the podcast we got in 3 weeks and 2 days is kind of going at the State House is kind of going to be a stepping stone towards what I think is going to build up to be a pretty major effort on the 4th Thursday of June, which comes as they're finishing up the budget, getting ready to go. It just seems like it's going to be a good time to have a decent head count, a good send you off. But then the fact that we have, at last count, 14 governor candidates still calling themselves candidates, and at least 12 have had fairly specific opinions. Okay, I've never seen this before. I've never seen it with Chris Christie's thing. It was a big deal when he ended up having an opinion, and the only way that opinion happened is he was doing a thing, taking a call from somebody on the street, and they stopped. Somebody on the street that was stopped was Rick Cusick of High Times. So, they bit into that. Well, what a coincidence. And then the governor had his opinion, and that was a freaking big deal. And now you're telling me that they're all coming in with their opinions, and they're cover for each other. There's 2 that voted against PTSD being in the program in 2016.
Right.
Sid Frelly and Bramnick, is it? I believe.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. And then, so this is it. That question's gonna be asked, because the other candidates can bring that shit up. I mean, it's not up to me to get the question asked anymore. If they're all trying to look good and looking for that slice of the pie, one of them's got to feed on these 2 candidates that, hey, listen, you had a reason for voting against it. It was passed 52-13 in the assembly. This is when they were assemblymen. And there's 13 no votes, all Republican, kind of new, no big names, 13. And it looks like a statement vote. The bill's going to pass without question by everybody. So why band 13 people together from one party and say no? What was the statement? It's a fair question. Tell us. What was that all about? Is that not a fair question now? I think it is. They just don't know what's coming. But it is. I mean, come on. I've had that in my hip pocket since 2016. I made up a sign, an individual sign. How big, Lefty? 3 feet by almost 8 feet long. So we had 13 signs, one individual for each of them. Yeah, that one got me. You got some balls 3 veterans leading the charge for everybody with PTSD, you know, like rape victims, a victim of abuse, saw horrible accident, whatever. And it worked good. And they voted no. And now they're running for governor and nobody knows. Wow.
Well, look, Jim, before I get off here, I think the one thing that's clear is that the polling must show that home grow is wanted, because the fact that you have both Democrats and Republicans now coming out saying, I support some form of home grow, the numbers must be there.
Boy, that's a good point, because back when we needed to get that done just to get the law passed, the Drug Policy Alliance finally did a poll after telling me why it would cost too much, 35,000 or something. And actually it was 30-some thousand. They weren't just running the price, but it was a kind that could be taken seriously. It showed 86% favored having a medical marijuana. 86%. That closed the case right there. Same thing needs to be done and properly worded. Home grow for patients, and 4, that's a very little number. People know 4 plants. Yeah, it is too little, but it's something that can be done. And then there's not going to be police saying, you have 5? I got to report you had 5 plants. Now, it's what kind of gets people to stay away from it all. And then adults, like, hey, look, no problems there. But also it shows the adult effort for adults, what they can then use, because people are going to be weighing in on both as it is, because they're going to be asked both. But I only want to add real quick that when Jake's law improvements for the home grow bill, for the patients improvements, I made a litany of them. Way overdue, a big deal as far as getting a lot of little stuff done, got tied to legalization efforts in an effort to get people to be okay with senators to get 21 Senate votes to legislate legalization in New Jersey, not kick it over to a referendum. And they couldn't get the votes. So what happened is patient provisions that were greatly needed didn't happen. It took 8 months to decouple it. You can't just back that baby up and start over and drive over this way. So basically, lumping them together to help get adult law passed cost patients these provisions, that were really important. And I just think now I'm very careful to understand that I don't want that to happen again. So I am careful to talk about medical home grow, adult home grow. We have people that like to talk about the program needs to be up and running. Patient program has been 15 years. Those waters are purposely muddied, and nobody does that. Even we, Lefty, how many times I'm like, what are we talking about? And you do need to talk about both. I'm not saying one here, everything, nothing. But I'm saying we're doing, in my opinion, a bad job of triaging the fact that all we're asking for right now is for a bill to have an informational hearing that hasn't had an informational hearing since it first was born over 4 years ago.
Well, now, the UFCW did a great job getting Sweeney to come out, and that was amazing.
Oh my God, UFCW! I can't even believe what a help. To me, a labor union. Okay, you got ashtrays in your Berlin office. You got ashtrays on tables. Is that a cigarette? Take that shit outside. It's like it's the coolest union thing I've ever seen.
Well, thank you, and look, we're, our duty as union reps is to represent our members.
Yeah,
and we have lots of patients that are members in our union. So, talking to Steve Sweeney, who is pro-union, he's definitely not perfect on everything. I know that. But as far as labor goes, he's been good. So we were able to have that conversation with him and tell him and explain to him why medical home grow is good.
I hope he, see, we had a nice moment when they actually couldn't get that vote I talked about. Had that moment to catch him out going by a road, and had a nice photograph with him and talked with him about this. And I remember saying to him as the second picture's being taken, I'm glad we're smiling because one day this picture is going to do you a lot of good.
That's
a
right.
little- yeah, that's a little pompous, you know. But I knew everybody. Yeah, this could do me some good. But he'd come to the podcast before, years before, before they were doing construction. He would get something to eat across the street and come by and say, I support you guys, I do, you know. But the problem is the first hold on this bill came from Senate President Sweeney and then was continued with Scutari. So I would hope that he can find a logical step-by-step approach to dealing with that in case it gets noticed, because it will. I mean, not by me. I would love the idea of him having a way to log. There's a logical explanation. I don't care if it's true or not. It is about appearance more than anything.
I think
it would be awesome for him. But the point is any one of those going to say, well, I think that current Senate President Nick Scutari should allow this bill to be heard, is what I think. Are the candidates going to be able to say that? See that? You see how this might mix up very well, depending how it rolls through their ranks. But if you can't say as a candidate, especially if it's not working as a Democrat in Trenton right now, if you can't say, I think this Senate President should. And if Steve Sweeney said, I wish I had, that's something, if I could do differently, I would. That's all he's got to say. Hey, listen, at the upper levels of government, there's people that can't fucking ever say that. To have somebody say that and say, okay, let's reset that clock and see what you got. You know, he's a guy that could do it. That's the image. I could actually see it happening. So I have that picture, and it's funny because, you know, it's, again, where we overlap with this concern, I'm horror. I want to, you know, he's not going to be the only date here, you know.
Yep.
But the fact that they're all talking about it and they're going to be doing what they can do to separate themselves from the pack, and this is part of the main concern, and the media gets that. I'm sorry, I've never seen that many things in line, you know. And now
at one time,
now that Joe Vitelli finally co-sponsored a bill that he hasn't co-sponsored in his committee all this time, that he finally co-sponsored, it is pretty huge, more behind the scenes than what we're seeing. But
absolutely.
It wasn't even a dog whistle. That was implicit permission to anybody else. You want to co-sponsor this bill? Don't worry about Scutari. And he co-sponsored it. So, you know, we got traction too. It's hard to notice sometimes, but we do have traction we never had before. And it's come in the last 6 weeks. So it's not, you know.
Well, look,
so you know, Jersey also has a bill for Ryan's Law, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, look, but you know, before I'm going to bounce here, but I think it just shows how important it is for, you know, everybody, whether you're a small dispensary owner, whether you're a patient, whether you're both, to stay involved and just put the pressure on the state level. That's where it's at right now. And if everybody from different districts, you know, sends out letters or sends emails to their people saying, you know, we want this. Yeah.
Well, and
they want to get reelected, so that's all they give a shit about.
New Jersey and Virginia, we're like 100 miles apart, close to each other. You know, it's not that far. They're the only two, of course, states having state elections, which means the rest of the nation looks to states like us for indications on things, how people vote, how does that affect national trends, yada yada. But it's going to get noticed, you know. And this is going to be noticed.
All right. Well, look, I enjoyed. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate talking with all of you. You know, Sativa Cross is the best. You know, Coalition Medical Marijuana. You're the OGs. So keep it up, and I'm always here for you.
And Bob Mario's a huge fan of yours. He said hi, Hugh. He said,
"Oh, I love him. He's a good dude. I love him."
Thanks for all you do out there, Hugh.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you. I appreciate that, Joel. Thank you so much. All right. Bye-bye.
Hugh Giordano. I can't believe we got him for 15, 20 minutes because he's like the busiest guy in New Jersey. Seriously.
Sounds like it.
Wow, Joel. Yeah, he's amazing. He's the union organizer for New Jersey. He's a director of whatever of the labor rep, and
He's a business agent, isn't he?
yeah, he's just amazing. He was just,
He was coming to coalition meetings regularly years
Yeah.
before the bill was passed. In other words, when the bill was going through that procedure, he was here being of whatever help he could, but also growing roots. I mean, he saw it coming, and he saw that it was going to be his baby. New Jersey's from New Jersey. This is his, you know?
Yeah, and it sounds like they would know the inner workings and goings-ons and people involved probably better than anyone if that's the case.
Plus, when you go to an event down at Berlin USCW 360, there are ashtrays on the tables where people can smoke cannabis, and they kind of frown on cigarettes.
I love this.
You know?
For them.
Yeah, that's ballsy. I like it.
yeah. It's the first thing we see when we walk in there. It's like ashtrays on the tables. We could smoke in here. Yeah. Wow.
It's a good sign.
Consumption
Fireside.
lounges. They're on. They have bills for that too. Is there any support for Ryan's Law though that anyone knows about in Jersey?
Ryan's Law.
Ryan's Law, medical cannabis. So patients can take their cannabis with them to the hospital, and they can have their caregivers or themselves, you know, if they're well enough to have complete control over their cannabis use and throughout their stay. And the patient or the caregiver is responsible for, like, you know, locking it up and what have you.
Is that what's going on in California? Is that the Ryan's?
That's Ryan's Law. Ryan's Law actually came out of North and South Carolina and had nothing to do with cannabis. So they just tagged on to the law that was already built and said, well, okay, so how about this? And that was, the original was based on, I think, children with autism, children with asthma being able to have their inhalers with them, you know, and whatnot. So what California did was they tagged on, you know, their own name, Ryan's Law, because Ryan was, he was a very sick patient, and, you know, they were able to get it passed. Now, we do have a bill here for that.
What's it called here?
It's called Bill 3502, also referred to as Ryan's Law.
Okay, 3502. That's a Senate bill, 3502?
Assembly. Yeah.
Yeah, it'll have a bill in the Senate as well. And you get that by going there. Yeah, okay. I can read through that. It's hard to keep abreast of all it. You know, I think we forget too in getting Homegirl passed that there's other things like allowing working with Medicaid to work for it, or the aged for the disabled, for the aged, pharmaceutical assistance for aged disabled, PAD, paying for a good part of it, you know. And there are bills that it's sort of like, if you're going to not entertain patient Homegirl for going over 4 years now, these bills have been passed through committee and didn't even get voted on this. But last year got passed through committee 8-0, the PAD one. And then what? So if somebody's going to hem and haw about Homegrow, that's when you beat them over the head with that. Don't be hem and hawing. You aren't even helping the method. You say all the worries about this, but you don't do fuck all, okay? You don't do anything about these other means that would allow them to be what you call legit and going through state programs and senior gold as well. So then there's this Ryan's Law now. There's just, and I think we need to also, I mean, if we're going to be real good at getting Homegrow, again, for patients, because all these are for patients, you know, I mean, the argument works. Well, then if you're going to like stall for Homegrow, how about you fast track some of this other shit while everybody's going broke and going back on opiates that they can't afford? And of course, we got people to be the examples for that. So I don't know. I just feel like this is not going to be a stagnant year the rest of this year in New Jersey. It's not. You know.
It's not going to be a stagnant year for the country.
Oh no, it's not.
However,
Yeah.
You know, we talk about home grow and we talk about home grow a lot, but you know, Ryan's law, at least what that would accomplish is, you know, to protect those patients that are hospitalized, you know, instead of
Yeah, we got
we've got terminally ill patients that they can't use their medication when they get taken to a hospital, you know, and that's fucked up.
and they can't do it in hospice care. That's real fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
Hospice care.
Well, they can. They can.
How do they do that?
Very carefully.
Got it.
Okay.
Yeah. There was a place, a guy named Burton Aldrich from New York. He passed away, but where he was housed, you know, until he got out of more familial living quarters. But the staff had a certain pin they wore if they were good.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, you didn't have to wonder if the person wasn't wearing a pin, you didn't talk about it. And however they described the pin themselves or whatever. And I always thought that sucks that to have to do that for all these people to be really their maximum well they could be. And they were thriving compared to some of the others. So yeah, I never stop looking in the rearview mirror. I want to remember I'm not only not puckered anymore, but there are patients who are really ill that know this can happen in their lifetime. When I spent all those years with Cheryl doing what we did, where we knew damn well it wasn't going to happen in her lifetime. So it's kind of nice to see it be within people's reach, you know, no matter how sick they are. They might be growing their own next year. It's possible. You know, I mean, seriously, it could happen. It won't. But once it.
Let's say it won't.
Okay. Well,
Be positive.
the first hearing for home grow would be huge in the news. This is what they're waiting for. The first hearing for having a law at all was amazing. You know, in 2004 or 5, and
Remember it well.
yeah. So this is it. I feel it, but that's what I want to push hardest. You know, that's when if it's going downhill, needs direction still. You know, and got some things going on that look like we'll have more opportunities this year than we've ever had before. But the State House next 2 podcasts, one's going to set up the next one. And it's just going to be well timed. I don't know. I hate.
Is that where you looked at your watch?
What's that?
Did you just look at your watch before you said that?
Oh, no, I don't have a.
Oh, okay.
To
get you one.
Yeah, and I do have a short leash tonight, about 10 till 6. I have to go to Lowe's so I can get some things that I need to do a job for somebody. And I don't do jobs a lot anymore, but it's a good gig within the people that I know and that I met through doing jobs for them that I don't know socially, that they pay for the materials and then they pay me what they think it's worth to them to pay me when I'm done. I don't even want to talk price. You know, I'll go up to 3 days work for that. And weirdly enough, I've never been disappointed. You know, they pay me more. The thing is, I don't have to keep looking like, I don't want to look like I'm working hard. I mean, you know, I want to make, no, if I'm old and I want to sit there, you know, and it's always for somebody that knows I'm going to probably have a pipe in my hand when I'm doing it. But getting out of practice, it's I want to have everything ready. I'm not going to Lowe's in the morning. I got to go. It's just changing a ramp into a shed and an incredibly wide, double-sided gate in a fence. It's more like you lift it up and carry it and it plops down, you know. And I told him I could fix it, you know. I'm your man. What's that?
Can you grow in it?
Can I grow in it? No.
No.
I'm registered to grow in Silverton and Toms River as soon as it's legal. You know, probably as soon as it's legal. You know, I was in Oklahoma. It's the Sooner State for a reason. It's called the Sooner State. You know, the Sooner Boomers, the Sooner football team. Well, yeah, there was that land rush. They said, listen, we're going to give you free land in a place we're going to call Oklahoma City. It's going to be in the middle of the freaking state. There's nothing else around it right now. It's going to be a race. Well, it's a race. It's Oklahoma. The people that obviously got out and were well prepared to be first, there was already a small town setting up, you know, and they had the best land, and they had to. So they, the privileged in the beginning, were called Sooners. It was a derogatory term. You're Sooners. They cheated. Yeah, we had a race. They cheated. They got there too soon. They left too soon. You know. So anyway, I'm ready to be a Sooner.
Okay.
It's a stupid fight song I got though. Yeah, 3 years in Oklahoma. You know, nothing about riding from Oklahoma City to anywhere. Not having been from there, I decided I want to see what Stillwater's like, where Oklahoma State is, OSU, not OU. And I thought these are such friendly people, and the roads have good speed limits on them. They're all 2-lane roads just about everywhere, and you know, and you didn't see a lot of cars coming both ways, and a car came speeding by, you know, and I thought, oh, speed trap, fuck yeah, man, I'm going a little fast, you know, and then I figured the speed trap moved because it wasn't one, and not the next car, the car after, another speed trap. Okay, maybe the speed trap move up here. No speed trap. And I thought, oh, wait a second. Are those fuckers waving at me? So I put my hand on my mirror, open window, and all I did was go like this. Next car went like that, got a hearty wave. I mean, I just tipped my hand off my mirror at a car passing by and got a hearty wave. I love that. Everybody's sir and ma'am, and, you know, it's pretty cool. Maybe not now, but it was then.
Yeah, I was going to ask if you had been in Oklahoma during the medical.
Oh, no, I was there like in 1981 through 80.
Yeah, in the very illegal years. Yeah, when Oklahoma first happened, everybody was kind of very surprised by it because historically they were not.
Oh, yeah, they had a guy, almost remembered his name, who got 92 years for 3 joints. Foster. Mm-hmm. Foster, I think was his name. But anyway, yeah, that was it. And then they passed medical law, and 1 out of 10 people in the state were a patient at a dispensary. It's like,
yeah,
holy crap.
I was there a lot in the early stages because I was running a fertilizer brand. And so we were always there when new markets were starting out, and Oklahoma was insane. It was something like $2,500 to buy a legal license, and there was no cap on how many people were allowed to do it.
Well, so, there you go.
Yeah, there were literally thousands of people trying to start commercial grows. Of many of them not making it to the finish line of a first harvest. Yeah. And then very stiff competition after the fact for those who did. Definitely.
Well, lessons can be learned from other states. You know, that's the way it's
supposed to work. It was an interesting one, though, because I felt that it was also a very fair system.
What?
It was a very fair system. It was accessible to the regular person to get involved. Like, anybody could have done it. Like, who couldn't come up with, a few $1,000s investment to start a cannabis business?
Well, that does make it interesting.
Like 2018 or whatever.
Okay, race to the mute button.
Did you know that there's 2 brothers that they were charged with cannabis trafficking, I guess in the 80s, and they're serving 98 years in prison in Florida?
I haven't heard about them, but that is ridiculous.
That's fucking crazy.
Yeah, and Florida is one of those really harsh states too, I believe.
Yeah, it depends though, because I was in Key West, and Key West is like a whole different vibe. So as you go down the state, and you get closer to Cuba, I guess, it becomes a little bit more free. But
The closer to bigger problems, I
Yeah.
guess, like bigger drug
Yeah.
problems. Fair. Yeah, you got to make it through that central part of the state, I guess.
yeah.
A lot of good cannabis has its roots from down there, though. I mean, from my understanding, a lot of the haze genetics in the U.S. Have a lot of roots in the Florida Everglades.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the Everglades.
Nifs and hazes and whatnot.
Yeah, well, I was also back in Fort Lauderdale in the late 70s to early 80s, which was a really interesting time in Fort Lauderdale. I lived there like almost 3 years. Yeah, that was pretty interesting. There was offloadings going on off Alligator Alley, 81 that shoots across the south.
Alligator
Rumor has it, and statute of limitations allows me to talk about it.
Yeah, alligators.
Fair enough. Yeah, well, like 70 pound bales, give or take. No, wait a minute. The 70 bales that were 30 pounds. That was it. Yeah, that was pretty. So I hurt my back first.
So according to the Last Prisoner Project, the
Yeah.
person I just told you about, him and his brother, they were sentenced to 90 years. They were finally released in 2020 after 32 years behind bars in a Florida prison.
32 years.
32 years. Imagine that.
Terrible.
And they had no violent, past or anything like that.
What was the name again?
Delisi. Delisa. Delisa.
Yeah, that was ringing a bell, but that's not the name.
Their brothers, Richard and David, I think it is. Let me see. Richard and where's his brother? I don't know.
That's shocking. Their whole lives are ruined.
Right?
Well,
but facing a life sentence, like Randy Lanier, he was facing a life sentence, and instead of letting it beat him, he went in there and started helping other people immediately. Started helping people.
Well, I know. That's nice.
He kept them sane. You have a life sentence for cannabis. I mean, what do you do?
I know. What a nightmare.
Well, that's Prisoner Project. I gotta look that up.
Yeah, those guys are great.
Yeah, definitely important work.
They organized that whole rally down in Washington that last
There
week.
was also a Harold Eugene Hill in 1970. He was sentenced to 1,000 years.
1,000 years. That's so optimistic. 1,000 years. That there'll be fucking life on Earth in 1,000 years. What about the November Coalition? Anybody remember that? That was kind of like a Last Prisoner Project goal sort of thing. Not called that though. November Coalition. It was about.
Well, the Prisoner
cannabis
Project,
people
what they're
in
working on right now is they're kind of trying to work on, the prisons themselves, the whole, what the prisons are like, these rat holes. So they're working on trying to get them safer. But meanwhile, now we have Donald Trump who wants to reopen Alcatraz and throw people like you and I in there.
No, not me. I could easily escape that piece of shit.
Yeah, I saw the movie too.
Yeah, I know.
No,
You're a good swimmer, right?
Yeah, no, I don't know. That's whatever. That's not my concern right now. I don't get thrown off my center line too easily.
Mm-hmm.
But try not to smile.
Okay.
Yeah, Alcatraz holds 330 space for 330 people now if it went back to being its original thing.
When
And it was
did they close Alcatraz? Wasn't it like 1970?
1969, I think it was.
69? Okay.
Yeah, it was in the 60s for sure.
Yeah.
I could be wrong
Okay.
about that. Yeah. So, and it wasn't open that long. I think it was open like 37 years or whatever.
Yeah, but the most dangerous prison in the country, right? And now, but we have
Well,
Rikers Island over here.
Yeah, it was
It's not
like,
exactly, you know.
yeah. We don't have Siberia, you know. So what we have is if you leave here, you're really not going to survive, you know. And of course, here's that one interesting story. And did they? Didn't they? Whatever. But you know,
Where did you just drift off to? What are you talking about?
Well, Alcatraz.
Oh, okay.
You know, I didn't want to talk about it in the first place, though. Somebody else brought it up.
I'm sorry. I apologize.
You know me. It's like a T-ball there. You know, I got to take a swing. There's a bat, there's a ball on a tee, and I'm like, okay, I'll take a swing. More like that. You know. Easy mark at the time.
Yeah, the DeLisi brothers, they were the longest. That's all I'm saying. Interesting.
So Pennsylvania is advancing a bill that would permit the sale of recreational cannabis at state-run stores.
Well, they used to do that with alcohol. Do they still do that with alcohol?
Yeah,
At the state-run stores in Pennsylvania? I hate Pennsylvania, but that's beside the point.
I think that is ABC stores.
Yes, it's selling cannabis through stores similar to Pennsylvania's fine wine and good spirits shops. Yeah.
So the other thing that I saw, it's interesting that you brought that up, is that that is part of this, you know, where are we going with this cannabis federal legalization? And, you know, just what you said is that's what others are asking for. Well, the alcohol bureau wants cannabis only sold in their stores, and they want it under lock and key. But their alcohol could be out.
Yeah.
You know.
But
like
see, what of course always gets me is they refer to their product as spirits, and we refer to it as weed. You know, it's sort of like the
That's why we have to use
spirits.
Cannabis.
You know, the deadly thing like alcohol and all the damage it can cause, and I know that from not excessive experience, but anytime I have a third beer, I think that third beer is twice strong as that.
They say this model would prevent existing multi-state operators from monopolizing the legal cannabis market and excluding small businesses.
Huh. Well, that makes sense on the surface.
That's interesting.
I mean, on the surface, you know, I don't have a shovel to dig below the surface.
Yeah, I had like the sound of the goal.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's you know, they got some good PR.
This system does not exist in any other state.
Yeah, true. Whatever. Try it at this point.
What PA does? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know, and Vin Gopal made the point about, you know, when it was being legalized for adults. Yeah, there's going to be a cleanup bill, and then there's going to be a cleanup bill for the cleanup bill, and then alcohol consumption laws have changed repeatedly and are still changing in our state. So no, it's probably never going to be perfect. You know, it's what you do with it, and you don't throw out the baby with the bathwater. I finally found out what that saying means, by the way, too. That puzzled me till.
What did you find?
What does it mean?
Well, it means way back, what would happen is wherever it was is, you know, it's olden days, you know, you didn't just change the water. Somebody took a bath, somebody else took a bath, somebody else took a bath. It went oldest to youngest. The baby got the last bath. Then you threw the water away. Just don't throw the baby out with the bath water. That's
wow.
Yeah, for real.
Okay.
You know, I mean, as for real as I can tell. You know, this is. I found this out before AI started figuring everything out. So I figure it's probably actual you know, intelligence. But I need to make sense, and that does. But that's what happens in effect, though. Again, it's like patients are being thrown out with the adult concerns, because it's like being told, oh yeah, And also, I'm going to make sure we start cutting Scutari's, what he's going to say still. He's never going to go, okay, let that bill get heard.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to say, he's going to try saying it, and he's been saying it. Videos of him as long as 4 years ago. Well, I think I can see it happening for medical, especially. I certainly see that happening. I think I could be okay with a very tightly controlled pilot program with only the mumbling sickest and most seriously hurt patients, And I'm thinking, please say that even a third or fourth time somewhere, because the idea of drawing a dividing line between registered patients finally get a right to have home grow in a pilot program. What, stage 1 cancer, you're shit out of luck. Stage 3, you're in. Well, that defies any kind of medical benefit. It's just absurd. But I don't want to spend time arguing that point with him when he actually says that out loud and proclaims. But he said it to Brianna Venozzi on Spotlight New Jersey, and somewhere else there's two. Yeah, you can watch him say it. He got asked the question. Somebody, we got one question I want to get to, and that was it. And it had to do with it. And I got to now make sure I can find where I got all these quotes, because they're gonna come in handy. His time's coming. He's gonna let go of it. I just don't want him to try it that way. I'm pretty excited.
Nice.
This
All
is
right,
the year.
well, sorry to interrupt. I'm going to have to jump off, time being what it may be. But thank you guys for having me on.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
It was nice to meet you. I'm Sue, by the way.
Likewise, yeah, Joel. Yeah, I would love to come back.
How can people reach you? Do you have a website or a way for people to reach you?
Well, you can find me on Instagram. It's Valley Fire with a 1 for an I, so VALLEYFI. Sorry, F1RE. Valley Fire. We do have a website. It's valleyofire.co, but it's a wholesaler access only site.
Oh.
So, but yeah, that's about it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Bill, for joining us, man.
Yeah. Thank you guys. Talk soon.
Yeah.
Very cool.
All right. Then there were three.
Oh.
Yeah, and I got. Well, I just got to buy this stuff tonight. I'm not that kind of dedicated. I'm starting to feel a little lazy, but I know I can hustle straight from here. I'm ready to go.
It's going to be
Hold
time
on.
soon.
What's
For the
that?
10th time, I heard that.
Time soon.
Well, oh boy, I lost my list here.
Are we done?
I want to thank Mad
'Cause I have
Hatter.
to go find a guest speaker now. So hurry up.
I want to thank Mad Hatter for having us, and we have events coming up this month. We have cannabis-friendly Sunday worship here on June 1st, so you might want to come out for that. That's going to be a fun one. If you've gone to Catholic church and fell asleep, like I have lately, you're going to want to be here. You're not going to go to sleep for this one. Definitely not. It's non-denominational. You can come as a Jedi if you want to come as a Jedi. Whatever you want. All good.
I like the non-denominational aspect of it. That's a good idea.
Yeah, I do too.
I mean, to be very clear,
Mhm.
So,
Hi, Adam.
Hi, Adam.
What's up, guys?
Hey, we got a board meeting. Let's go. Let's do it.
I know, right?
Board
Sorry,
is here.
I was busy cleaning my kitchen, having family over for dinner.
Okay, approval of old minutes.
I approve.
I
I
second. I third.
Yes.
Caboose.
I will send the. We just got some money in the bank, so I'll send you the how much money we have, which is not much.
That's a hell of an account for
I'm
a
sorry.
board meeting. We
wasn't
have
ready.
some, not much. It's cool.
Can we do some being that this is a board meeting?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now
Can't
it
we
is.
do some listen to me, hear me out. Like pop-up tables, like I could pop up a table in any of these restaurants that I have that are surrounding me on their outside, and they don't care. Because there's 53, apparently there's 53 dispensaries around here, according to the map I looked at the other day.
Whoa.
Anyway, So this is how we do it, you know, for cannabis for the nurses. We put up a pop-up table. We have like a tablecloth that says Cannabis Nurses Network with some literature, and just, you know, and then I'm usually the person that I like to go around, and because I know where everybody's secret hiding places are. So I go and put flyers, you know, all around, you know, that kind of like old time grassroots organizing shit. And, you know, sometimes you get people and sometimes you don't. And it doesn't matter if you do or don't, because at least they have the literature. At least they know we're here. Okay. And we're going to make some noise. So, because you got to bring this stuff up this way too. And I'm the only one that's up here, right? Adam, you're not that far from me, are you?
I'm in West Nyack. Where are you right now?
Yeah. Okay. So I'm in Hackensack. So you're right down.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Basically.
So Adam and I could do something like that.
I'm down.
Now that I'm volunteering you. What do you think? Think about it. Okay. We can revisit this next Tuesday and see what you think about it.
Adam, we're talking about making this building a cannabis church, a legal cannabis church. I think we spoke about this.
No, I didn't know. You mean you're going to incorporate in some way, and that you want to have
Non-denominational.
Yes, non-denominational. And because it's next to a dispensary, they can say that it's 1,000 feet away. However, a congregation can get together and wait and sign a waiver to waive that part of the law. So we can waive that. So we can be next to a dispensary.
Sure.
Really?
I gotta hand it to you, you know.
Okay.
Higher powers than me are involved, and they're interested. And
Hallelujah, dude.
I'm like, okay, I'm all for it, and I'm going to actually become an ordained minister like Adam did, and other people. I'm going to do it.
Well, you know, you're a minister by virtue of your actions. You don't need a piece of paper.
Yeah, but he wants to marry people now.
Well, in that case.
Well, then he could marry people that would be saying 5 years later, "Gee, honey, I didn't know we weren't legally married. I'm sorry."
Right.
Well, I mean, you need a marriage license from your local municipality anyway, even on top of your church wedding. So it's like, I don't think that would get in the way, right?
Yeah, I mean the Hasidics do it with just the ceremony; they don't bother with the legal stuff.
Right, but in terms of their, that doesn't get in the way of anything they're doing. So I don't really think. So the only reason you need a real marriage license and a marriage certificate is for taxes. Everything else, or for to buy property jointly,
right?
It's like that.
Right. It's a legal binding contract. That's what it is.
But I'm sure you can get Universal Life Church online. It's free to become a minister with these churches online. You just have to pay them for the certificate.
I'm gonna get going. I got to go.
Go.
I'm gonna do something on time. One time.
Okay.
Thank you, Jim.
Not me.
Let's.
Because being on time is important, you know.
She's gonna come in there and kick your ass.
Motion to adjourn.
Yes.
I second it.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
That was the quickest board meeting ever.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that was a board meeting, though. That's good.
Yeah.
You know, at least we got a
So we're
board
gonna
meeting.
revisit next week the pop-up tables. Okay.
Oh yeah, definitely. You know, I mean,
because it's summer. It's going to be summer in 2 weeks, and it won't be so. People are out.
It's going to be an interesting summer. I think.
Yeah,
It
it's going to
is.
be interesting.
So thank you, Matt Hatter, CMMNJ, UFCW, Arlo Glass, OprahMachine.com, and SativaCross.org.
Okay.
Cheryl Miller starts our list off. I was talking about Cheryl today to a guy from Wisconsin.
Well, I was alluding to that when I was saying that what I really like now is there's a lot of really sick people who, although they're really sick and they don't know their future is uncertain, they have hope that this could happen in their lifetime. You know, by the end, it'll be like, wait, it's actually moving. 4.5 years without being allowed to be even spoken of in a committee meeting. You know, so when that moves, and it's going to move, hope, you know, it's something that would be in short supply, but not, you know, in Gerald's case, like it's too late for me. I mean, I'll always remember reading David Pace's words, Associated Press reporter. Said it's too late for me. I'm trapped in my body. It's deteriorating, and I can't do anything about it. But there's more. Jim and Cheryl still have more time. So
They have the police riding around on Atlantic City's boardwalk looking for people that are smoking weed there.
where?
Atlantic City on the boardwalk.
Oh yeah. They were doing that for.
It's on the news.
They were doing that for cigarette smoking too, though. When they
Yeah,
had the no
well, now they're
cigarette
doing it,
smoking.
yeah.
So they got to be fair.
No nothing. Just give me your money.
Yeah, there you go. Okay.
All right. Here's our list.
Yeah, do
Cheryl, Sabina, Diane, Gracie, Cindy May, Marie, Jack, Joan, Randy, Polly, Bill, Chad, Jeremy, Colette, Matt, Troy, Russ, Roger, Jay, Ella, Hattie, Jackie, Anthony, Jake, Armanda, Felicia, Lynn, Dan, Sean, Joyce, Lori, Frank, Brian, Flo, Carl, Thorne, Frank, Lorraine, Terry, Charlotte, Cher, Jaybird, Michael, Marley, Colette, Brendan, Red, Rico, Lou, Becky, Lawanda, Chip, Paul, Lisa, Marcus, Gary, Julia, and Jeff.
Forward motion this year. Not going to
Yes.
be stuck again. Not
Yes.
not another session ending without a hearing. That's not a possibility.
Things are happening this year. Things are happening, everybody. So stick around and watch our dust.
All right, good one.
See you later, guys. They went with songs to the battle. They were young, straight of limb, true of eye, steady in the glow. They were staunch to the end against odds uncounted. They fell with their faces to the foe. They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, for the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them. Thanks, everybody. Good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.